Hello, everyone. This is Henny Espinosa with Just Wish Foundation. Today, we are joined by Andrea Crowley, Director of Foundation Partnerships at Charity Water. And their goal is to bring clean and safe water to people around the world. Thank you so much for joining us on Just Wish Foundation, Andrea.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Henny.
So, Andrea, let's first talk about your founder, Scott Harrison, who experienced a dark moment in his life and managed to come back to New York City on a mission. So, tell us about his interesting story.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott does. He has a pretty inspiring story and an unconventional path to founding what is now one of the largest water charities in the world. And before starting Charity Water, Scott spent about a decade working as a nightclub promoter in New York City and ultimately found himself deeply unfulfilled. So to find a greater purpose, he dropped everything and made a decision to go volunteer on a hospital ship off the coast of West Africa in Liberia. And his experience here, he saw, many profound things, but in particular, I think, his eyes were open to the firsthand impact, being able to see the firsthand impact of the global water crisis, and truly how unbelievable it was that in the 21st century, this was still an unmet need for so many people around the world. He shares stories of thousands of people coming to the hospital ship to get treatment and medication for overwhelmingly waterborne illnesses, only to return back to their village, where they would continue drinking from dirty sources of water. And, this was only going to continue to make them unwell, their family members unwell. And in many instances, it was unsurvivable also. So yeah, all to say that this experience certainly transformed his life. And it was, 1 year volunteering turned into 2. And after that time, he came back to New York City. This was in about 2006, with a kind of focused mission to address this unmet need and to bring clean and safe water to people around the world.
Back in 2006, when Scott founded Charity Water, 1.1 billion people all over the world had no access to clean water. Now, a lot of the communities that don't have access to water are from rural communities, I understand, right? Why is having access to clean water life-changing for these communities? What does access to clean water do to these communities?
Yeah, it's such a great question, Henny. So for us, water changes everything. And I think, if you ask a wider audience, it's also something we can almost all agree on as well. So, if it's from the moment we wake up to having a glass of water, to brushing our teeth, to a shower, to making our morning cup of coffee, there's been so many ways that we've effortlessly used water without even having to think about, will this have an impact on me or not? And so, having access to water, it affects every aspect of daily life. And for many communities, clean water means so much more than that. It means improved health. It's reducing the prevalence of waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery and diarrhea. It means that women and children who literally and figuratively are carrying the weight of the water crisis, spending hours every day collecting water, oftentimes collecting water that, again, it's dirty water that they're bringing back to their homes and their communities. And with reliable access to clean and safe water, they have this time back and they can use that. Kids can go to school, women can start businesses. And then clean water, contributes to agriculture, to food security, and overall is a kind of a critical linchpin for community development and economic prosperity.
Yeah, I mean, water is life. It's as simple
Exactly. That is something we say often. Yes.
Yeah. So when Scott started the Charity Water, his goal was really to reinvent charity with an innovative 100% model and radical transparency. Tell us about this strategy that allows you guys to prove that every single water project funded really is put to good use for these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Scott started the organization, it was at a time, I think a particularly heightened time where there was distrust in charities, and especially charities that might be doing international work, because there's kind of such a distance between oftentimes donor dollars and where the work is getting done and how the money is being spent. And he also knew at the same time, he had just come back from Liberia, seeing how large the problem was, knew that this is a big mission to deliver on, and he had to think about building building an organization that had the capacity to deliver. And key to this is having donors and to people kind of to believe in this mission. So Scott kind of made this radical choice to think about how could we reinvent charity. And in part, this led to the creation of what we call and refer to as our 100% model. And even beyond that, this relentless commitment to transparency. So the 100% model promises that every public donation will go directly to funding water projects. And this is made possible because all of our operations costs are covered by a separate group of private donors that we refer to as the Well. So in-house, these are two separate bank accounts. They are funded separately, they are audited separately, to give that added layer of transparency. So even if a donor goes to make an online gift and they want 100%, it's a public donation, 100% is going towards water projects. Even the credit card transaction fees, our operations account will cover, so that truly the intended gift that donor wanted to give, 100% is going to our water projects.
That's great.
And then on top of that, it was proving our impact. So it was thinking about how could we circle back to our donors to let them know that we have been good stewards of the money that they have so generously donated. So this is sharing GPS coordinates of every water point, photos of every point, information on the number of people who are benefiting from that specific water point. And this was just really a way that donors could, connect their impact to their contribution. And also for us, it was important to make sure that we were building trust and confidence in the organization and our mission and with our donors.
Wow, that's great. It's really creating this community of good, but not just any community, but really actively engaged community of do-gooders. And that's great, Andrea. So tell us about how you guys partner with experienced local organizations that build sustainable community-owned water projects around the world.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's about building sustainable community-owned. Those two kind of words go hand in hand. So for us, that's what we believe, that empowering local communities is the driver to sustainable change. And the model is not to have a charity water office in all the communities that we're working. That would not be an efficient use of donor dollars or delivering on our mission, but really to identify and select experienced local organizations in the countries that we're working that we can partner with to work through to implement these water projects. And this is essential because these our local partners have the depth of local knowledge, expertise, the local relationships, kind of all the ingredients that are needed to implement, but also the important piece is maintaining these water projects in the longer term. So by working with our local partners, like you said, it's making sure that these projects are all community owned, they're sustainable, and they're really providing long-term solutions. And so for us right now, we're working with 58 local partners across 22 countries in Africa and Asia. So it's a really, it's like a strength in numbers of the partnership network that we're able to create.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's talk about the communities that Charity Water serves. I understand that 8 out of 10 people without access to improved water sources, like I mentioned, live in rural areas, right? Tell us about these communities that you guys serve.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's about 80% of people who don't have basic access to clean water are living in rural communities. And on top of that, these are communities predominantly in Africa and Asia, but that also have high incidences of poverty, are oftentimes underinvested in. They're facing significant challenges like geographic isolation, limited infrastructure, economic hardship, climate shocks. So our work is very intentionally focused on reaching these underserved populations. And for us, we feel, it's kind of like a tide that lifts all boats. If we're able to prioritize these rural areas, then kind of more broadly, we're able to create healthier, more resilient communities across these countries and then around the globe.
That's great. That's great. Let's talk more about the focus on sustainability and how you guys work with local leaders to keep water flowing in these communities. Tell us about what you've deployed in those communities.
Absolutely. So we touched on this a little while ago, but sustainability is really at the heart of our mission. It's not about having, just access to clean water today, but about having reliable access to clean and safe water every day for these communities. And all of our projects, they're so infrastructure heavy. So while we're very intentional about sourcing high quality materials to be able to implement these water projects, it's still infrastructure at the end of the day. There is maintenance that does need to happen. There are breakdowns that do happen, but you need to have the right processes in place to be able to fix them. So kind of our starting point is, like we said before, working with local communities, building toward community structures and community water management committees that can really help with the longer term maintenance of these water points. But sometimes that isn't enough. And we have seen incidences over our almost 18 years of doing this of water points breaking down long before, a problem has even been recognized. And then it's a much bigger, much more expensive endeavor for that community to take on. So with that, our team started to kind of troubleshoot this idea of a remote water sensing technology that has been R&D for multiple years. There's multiple versions now of the sensor. And what it is, it's a remote cloud-based sensor technology that can be pretty easily retrofitted in about 15 minutes to water points that then give our local partners real-time data on the functionality of these water systems. So they can be at their office, at their desk, pull up a map of where water points with sensors are located, and they can see which ones are functioning well, which ones seem to be having an issue, which ones might have gone offline for some reason, and then pretty immediately deploy local mechanics who have been trained to be able to troubleshoot and fix that problem to make sure that community has clean water running as soon as possible again.
That's great. That's great. Andrea, tell us about some of the water solutions that Charity Water has funded through the years and why these solutions are effective.
Yeah, this is a really important question, I think, because it's not about, building a well in every community that I think a lot of people might think water organizations, that's what they're focused on doing. That's it in part, but there's so much nuance and, between these communities and the context of the environments. So for us, it is really thinking about how can we meet communities with where they are, work with and learn from our local partners about the best solution. We have a variety of solutions that we implement. So this might be a drilled well, a rainwater harvesting system, a gravity fed or a solar powered, a piped water system, biosand filters. And each solution is really thoughtfully constructed and chosen based on the specific needs of that particular community. So in a community like Mali, for example, that might have prolonged drought, it really is thinking about a borehole, digging it, well below the water table so that even in variable climates, that community still has reliable access to clean and safe water, and then making sure that it can reach the community in an accessible way. On the other hand, there are communities like Cambodia where there is a lot of water around, but the water is not clean. And so it's thinking about filtration systems and also ways to bring that then filtered water closer to homes and communities.
Yeah, so it's really knowing the community too.
Exactly.
What resources are available. So you guys are really fully immersed now in the community and kind of being there for the long term, which is great.
That's exactly right. And that is the purpose. It isn't, we're very intentional about being committed to the communities that we're working with and the partners that we're working with, because the ultimate goal is completion. We want those communities. It's not kind of picking up and moving around. It's just not the best way to solve the problem.
Yeah, totally. Andrea, tell us kind of the massive impact that Charity Water has had all over the world and why people should step up to help you guys in your efforts.
Yeah, no, I so appreciate that question. So over the past almost 18 years, the organization was founded in 2006. We have now delivered over 152,000 water projects across 29 countries.
Wow.
That's bringing clean and safe water to more than 18.4 million people. And we're certainly proud of that impact. I think, again, it's in huge part to the partnership network that we've built and kind of this ability. We have incredible donors, from individual fundraisers to kids who are running lemonade stands to people who are running marathons to raise money for clean water, all the way up to, large corporations and then mom and pop shops. It really kind of spans the gamut on the types of funders that we have, and we're incredibly lucky for that. And for us, we're well aware also when Charity Water started work, it was about, you said this before, just over 1 billion people who didn't have access to basic access to clean and safe water. That number is now down to 703 million, which does feel hopeful. We're making progress. Things are moving in the right direction, but that's still a really big number. So for us, it's just doing all we can to continue to mobilize, people who care about this cause, to get them activated and excited about what we can accomplish together, and to really have hope in that messaging of what clean water, we touched on it, what clean water means to these communities at the individual level, at the household level, at the community level. And really thinking about creative ways to be able to build awareness about the global water crisis. So we have individuals who come in, or companies that come in to sponsor a water project in full. That's a great way to be able to engage, or they'll get kind of a group of individuals together to sponsor a water project. We have a monthly giving program known as the Spring, of where you can give what you can every month, and that really makes a huge difference and be able to provide sustainable funding for our water projects. Or you can make a one-time donation, but really anything that you're able to do is a huge help for us. And like I said before, it's fundraising for it, but a big piece of it is just spreading the word. So I'm so grateful to have this chance to chat with you, to be able to do that.
It's great. And for us at Just Wish Foundation, we want to do our part. We want to step up to water. Is such a basic need, but it is the most important need. And water is really life, and it's not just having life, it's about having quality life.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
For these communities that otherwise would not have had access to it if it were not for your help, for the help of the donors all over the world, big and small, no matter what, every dollar, every penny goes a long way. And you guys have created this community of good that are invested and accountable and united in this cause. And we just applaud you guys at Charity Water. Thank you so much for all that you do. And hopefully we can get the word out more, and more people realize that really we're all in this together. So more power to Charity Water. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you.
Justice for our part, we're just delighted that we can help support you guys. And really it's all of us coming together, and we're excited to see more and more impact coming from you.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. And again, so glad to be able to chat with you today.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.